Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show here. Tons of great stuff we talk about today. All kind of good things actually going on here in the world of real estate. So huge news today. The market is back in terms of new deals under contract. The first of the year and the pent-up demand and the low rates have really helped a lot of buyers jump back in. We'll talk about that. Over our team's an absolute crush, and we put 26 homes under contract just last week. And so that's a huge difference from where we were in December, where things were like a dead stop pretty much. And then we saw rates drop right around Christmas week. And then finally, everyone got back to business. And it's been unbelievable. We've seen numbers that are similar to like summertime numbers in terms of properties going under contract. We'll talk about that. We'll look back, review last month's numbers, the 2023 numbers for the entire Myrtle Beach market. Which is interesting, but I have some interesting news. This national data, 2023 home sales were the lowest they were in 29 years. The lowest amount of sales, like cumulative, since 1995, which is crazy, right? We'll talk about that and break down the data and stuff, but it's interesting to look at. What's crazy is prices didn't really decline in many markets here especially. But here's the crazier part. There's about 75 million more people now than was in 1995. So in 1995, there was 266 million people. Now, I think that's 2020 census it shows 331 million, or maybe it's 2022. But either way, from 266 million to 331 million people, so 75 million more people, and the same amount of home sales, which is crazy, right? So even less home sales last year than after 2008 crisis. So we'll talk about that, kind of what's going on. And the wild card is there's just so much of a shortage of housing that's what's helping keep prices up. So very, very interesting. We talked about that. And actually, I'll talk about in today's show. I flew to kind of a top secret meeting quickly last week for 2 days in New York City. A couple of things, 8 agents from across the country in Canada were invited. We all went to Ryan Serhant's office, who's the agent on $1 Million Listing. Been on there for like 12 or 15 years. Big celebrity in that. But his team sells $1 billion worth of real estate every single year. And so we just talked about what's happening market-wise. What are we seeing out there? And we all kind of share ideas like AI and all this stuff. So we'll talk about that in today's show and kind of what went on and kind of some cool stories about what we saw there overall. But interesting stuff for sure. And here's the crazier part. We've seen a huge increase in sales the last 2 weeks here. I'll talk about that. But 100+% increase in terms of pending deals week over week since January, the first week of January, which is great. So great news in the mortgage world. Rates are still below 7%, which is great. Some not shocking news, but a lot of people now were predicting previously that we'd see 2 to 3 more rate drops this year from the Fed. Now there's a site that tracks that 24 hours a day with percentages, and now that's not looking like it's going to be the case. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see kind of what happens overall with that. But bottom line, you think about selling, you want to do it earlier more than later. We'll talk about that in today's show. As usual, my team is always looking to hire and add great agents on our team. We have a scholarship we offer for the right people that want to serve at the highest level. We are very, very passionate about serving clients, about doing what we do. Been doing the same thing here on this radio show for, I think, 15 plus years now. And we just want to give you all the information that helps you make better decisions with your largest assets. For most people, that's real estate, right? And so I want to do one thing, every week. Every week is just keep you updated, what's happening, understand trends, understand what's happening, make good decisions. And ultimately, if you ever want to come back and watch any of these shows, you can go on YouTube, just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow Sloan Realty Group on Facebook. We stream them everywhere. You can also look them up on your favorite podcast and see those. And any questions you always have, you can call me at 843-808-SOLD or go to blakesloan.com anytime.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to. If you just tuned in for the very first time and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, it's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called the Real Estate Whiz Kid. He's been featured in magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, other national publications. You may be seeing him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Friends, the morning show. You heard the personal endorsements here by Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaVox. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing. But the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and this is the whole DNA behind the show, the whole purpose behind the show is the only reason I go through this every single week, and take the time to plan the show and put a lot of time, energy, and planning for it to provide value, because I see the same mistake really 5, 6, 7 times a week, over and over and over and over. And it's detrimental to people. They're the largest asset, right? And they make just dumb decisions. I don't know how else to say it. They just make very dumb decisions with their largest assets. And it's crazy. They can be super affluent, right? College degree, MBA. I see the same mistakes. Doesn't matter. They make this mistake of thinking that all real estate agents are the same. And it could not be any further from the truth, right? Just like any doctor, any lawyer, if you're charged with a crime you didn't commit, the last thing I want is some part-time attorney who's only tried a few cases. But for some reason, when it comes to real estate, they ask the wrong questions. They just pick anybody, or they want the cheapest one or the one their friend referred, without doing any research, without asking any good questions, which is absolutely crazy. Same thing with a doctor, right? You notice like the difference in how it executes. We actually, my wife and I went to a doctor recently for her regarding a child, and it's one of those things where the other doctor retired, who was phenomenal. We loved her. The practice was amazing. The experience is amazing. And all of a sudden, we're looking at new doctors, and the experience was terrible. And I was sitting there yesterday thinking, like, man, it's so crazy to think that most people just take the one they get and they don't ask any questions. And like, I was even thinking, like, in the doctor's office yesterday, they were just thinking like, hey, we're just going to take this person in, no experience, like no trying to make it seem good, no trying to really sell themselves on why they should be good. And we left there and said, look, we're going to go somewhere else, just because we understand that this is a service-based business with real estate agents. It's a service-based business with attorneys, service-based business with doctors. And guess what? The difference is the actual people and how they execute in the process. And so it's something that most people just make this massive mistake. And the biggest mistake they make is they just think that all agents are the same. And the problem is that the single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes into one thing and one thing only. That thing is the agent that you choose, period. Right? It's not the time of year you sell. It's not the grass quality, the wall color, none of that. It comes down to what agent do you pick? How do you pick the agent? How they actually execute? What most people don't realize is, like, there's a lot to selling a house, a lot of nuances, ins and outs. There's actually 118 different variables from A to Z, which most agents don't even know there's 118. They just are winging it, right? They're just doing the 3 Ps that we talk about. They promise you the world to get the listing. Number 2, they put it to MLS. And 3, they pray that someone else brings a buyer. And meanwhile, they're down the street trying to get the next listing, praying that yours actually sells. And so what we realize is, like, you got to make sure you have the way to execute at the highest level for people's largest assets. And like, this could be anything from pricing strategy. This could be anything from the quality of the photos. I saw one just yesterday, very a high-end house, let's say 600,000-700,000. And they had used an agent. The agent had only sold 2 homes in the last 12 months. And I pull it up, and their cell phone photos. And not only are they cell phone photos, on the bottom left corner, it tells the cell phone that they were shot with. It was like a Galaxy, I don't know, 9 or something. Every single photo shows Galaxy 9 on it, and they're terrible, right? And you're talking a $600,000 house here that they're taking cell phone photos, and they can't figure out why it didn't sell. But the problem is they have no clue because they didn't ask the right questions, right? And so the whole reason we do this show is to understand, look, there is a better way. You have to understand that the agent you choose matters, that agents operate in different ways. And so what I did when I got in the business, I said, look, there's got to be a better way. I noticed when I first started at Coldwell Banker, it was me and 200 plus other agents. They didn't care about me. I didn't care about them, right? They actually hated me when I got a new listing. And the last thing they wanted to do was sell it because they were jealous I got the listing, right? Because within the organization, there was no alignment, right? They didn't care about me. I didn't care about them. There was no incentive financially to do so. And it was dog eat dog, right? And so what I noticed is, like, it was all of us by ourselves trying to do everything. And so the problem is you have one agent who's trying to juggle all the balls. And so your agent friend that you use that sold 2 houses last year, right, or 3 houses, the average agent in our marketplace sold 4 homes per year. That's 1 per quarter. It's not a whole lot to really even know what the heck's going on. It's definitely not enough to have any money to spend on your behalf for marketing. And so that's why I just wing it, put it to MLS. And so I saw it out and said, look, what has to happen in the right order to make sure we get a successful sale every single time? And I had a coach and a mentor who I paid to help me map that out. We spent all the time and money to map those things out. And what we did was we backed it up with 2 main things. Technology, which is like the systems and processes piece. We built out technology, spent multiple 6 figures on technology to help build out software where we can manage those variables proactively. And the second piece we manage with is people. And so what we do is we stack the dominoes. We make sure we know what has to happen at point 1, what has to happen at point 2. When we put those in order, we stack those dominoes. And what it does is it creates a small gap, a small piece of leverage for our client. And then we stack those up over 118. So it doesn't make a big difference on like 1 and 2. But you stack all those up, it creates a massive gap for our client and creates a massive competitive advantage for the client, which allows us to sell properties faster and for more money. And so that's the thing I designed. It's called the guaranteed sold system. The only proven system sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. Literally, when I say that number, we can show you mathematically every single point how it adds more money to your bottom line. And anybody we sit down with, including other agents from other areas that have a house to sell here, it absolutely blows their mind. And so it's something that's predictable. It's something that allows us to get the absolute best, results for our client versus some single agent who's out there just trying to get this squeaky wheel. They're just trying to basically survive. And the thing is that, and I talk about this all the time, is the problem with the traditional agent model, how most agents operate. You have one, maybe two agents trying to juggle all the balls. So they're trying to work with buyers. They're trying to work with sellers. They're trying to do all the listing tasks, taking photos, putting MLS, inputting data, answering the telephone, all these things that has to happen. And that's like having the same person at McDonald's do the front register, the drive-through, and the French fries at the same time. It's very, very, very inefficient. It's why most people are very unhappy with their home sale and why the experience doesn't go very, very well. And so what I did is I flipped that upside down and said, look, how do we make sure we have someone who's a specialist who handles every single part of that? So like the drive-through person, we have a drive-through specialist. And with us, we have listing specialists, we have buyer specialists, we have inside sales team, an outside sales team. We have listing coordinators, closing coordinators. We have a full-time photographer on our staff. We have a full-time graphic design person. So we can control all those variables and make sure we execute with lightning speed very, very efficiently for our client. And that's how you're able to create gaps for yourself against anybody else. And that's how you sell properties fast. And I share that because if you take anything from this show, and I know I mention it every week because I made a promise I would, because I still see people making mistakes. And when I don't see that anymore, I'll quit talking about it. But on the flip side, there's 100 plus variables for buyers out there. Very, very similar, right? If everything's handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket, you get the absolute best deal on the property. If anything's handled incorrectly, aka that agent drops the ball at any point from negotiation, from home inspection, all this stuff, that costs you your hard-earned equity or you don't get the property. And so what I did, I designed a system that's proven repeatable called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Gives you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as the home inspection to get you that closing table successfully. And both those do one thing, like I mentioned, is give you a competitive advantage. So they'll take anything from the show every week. And I know, talk about it, share it with your friends or relatives, whatever it is like, look, you want to make sure you have an agent who gives you a competitive advantage in the marketplace. The average agent, like I said, sells 4 homes. We talked even last week's show. I think I still had it in my notes. The shocking statistic that 49% of agents sold either one home or none at all in the past year across the United States. Again, United States last year, 49% of agents sold either one home or none at all in 2023, which is crazy. And so people are gambling like that with the largest asset, right? It's like, hey, you don't want to have somebody who sold one home or less dealing with your largest asset, gambling on something that costs you $20, $30, $40, $50,000. And so if you want to know what works, reach out, call me. More than happy to sit down and show it to you to absolutely blow your mind. You owe it to yourself and to your family and to your kids and their kids to at least learn about it and see how you can protect your hard-earned equity. So give me a call, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com. We'll take a quick break, right back in a second.
Here, the real estate market is constantly changing. Now, here to give us insight into this is my friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, I know certain programs make it a lot easier for the seller. Which ones do you offer?
Hey, Sean. In addition to our traditional program that sells your home for top dollar, we have an instant offer, a multi-offer, and a guaranteed offer program. I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars who are looking to buy homes in the Grand Strand right now.
And what kind of return can you expect from them?
Here's what I'll say. Every seller's needs are different. Some need maximum convenience, and we deliver that every single time. Some need the most amount of money, and we have a program for that as well. We have a trademark program that nets sellers up to 5 to 10% more money than traditional industry methods.
All right, great insight, and thank you for this update. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD, or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com, and consider your home sold.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers at time crunch, you can agree to sell it on a certain date, take cash for your home, or even rent.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time,
use our proven marketing plan to sell for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan. a home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Radio Show. Brand new market update, all kind of stuff going on. Data, we'll talk about kind of what's going on. Also, back to what Sean was saying there a second ago. I forgot to mention in our intro is that we do have a fund with millions of dollars in it that basically I'm in charge to help buy property for investors, and so I'm also a member of that fund. But we come in and buy instant cash buy. We just bought 2 properties this week, a house in Carolina Forest, also a townhouse in Soxty, that people just want a fair offer. They want something they can control the closing date. It can be guaranteed. They don't feel like fixing anything up, cleaning anything up, whatever it is. If you want an instant cash offer, you can always get that from us. And we do that as a convenience tool. It's very, very fun. Unlike a lot of these so-called investors out there you see on TV or you hear on the radio, most of those are what they call wholesalers, and their job, all they're doing is just locking your property up at a low price. Let's say your house is worth $200. They find desperate sellers, and they'll offer them, $120 or $130, and then they take it. Let's say you get it at $130. They flip it to another investor for $150. They take $20,000 profit. That's your hard-earned equity, and then the investor buys it. And so, like, it's definitely because these people aren't licensed. They're not really representing, they're not having your best interest in any way. And so you definitely want to make sure you're using a branded person who's professional, who's licensed, if you do so, because it helps you get you the most fair offer. We had somebody call our office yesterday. She had inherited land in Conway, and she was talking to an investor and builder who offered $50,000 for the property. Thankfully, she talked to a relative. Relative told her to call us. We looked at it. We found it was worth $200,000 plus. She almost pulled the trigger. They had sent the contract. She told them no. They called her back. They offered her $75,000. She said no. They called back. And this is all before we could meet her. They offered her $100,000. She said no. Offered her $150,000. She said no. And they finally offered $200,000. So they were going to steal this lady's equity for $50,000. But thank God that the relative told her to call us. We gave her just a basic value over the phone. We met with her and are going to help her list it over $200,000, right? So it's one of those things that this happens all day, every day. And the reason I share these horror stories, like, look, you got to make sure you're asking the right questions and dealing with the right people who are reputable, who are licensed, who can help make sure that your equity is protected. But we're always looking to buy properties. You get an instant cash offer by going to blakesloan.com or calling us anytime. But interesting numbers. Let's talk about the market numbers. Huge increase, thank God, since the 1st of January. If you remember, December is very, very slow. Rates were very high. It was high 7%. It came down that week of Christmas into the basically mid 6s. And so right now we're still in the high 6s, but great news. Like our team, like I mentioned, huge increase, put 26 properties under contract just last week. But here's the cool part. We have 2 types of numbers. We have the windshield numbers, which is like, hey, what's happening in front of us? Those are something we track every single day in my office, every week on this show. How many properties went under contract the last 7 days? And so that helps me keep a pulse of what's happening, so I can help advise our clients. Like right now, we saw a huge rush. We've been advising our clients to push the price a little higher because of obviously the real-time demand. If you use the rear view mirror numbers, which is what most people use, which is what closed last month. So right now, that'll be what closed in December. And so if it closed in December, it went under contract 30 to 60 days prior to that. So you're looking at data sometimes that's 3 months old. You want to make sure you're making the right adjustments and right decisions from an aggressive standpoint. That's why 2 types of data matter. So here, let's look at last week, the last 7 days. Phenomenal. In the last 7 days, been 565 properties go under contract, which is amazing. That's 131% increase since the first week of the year. So you go back to the first week of January, the first show we did this year, it was 244 properties, which is super low, right? Right now it's 565, 131% jump since the first week of the year, which is amazing. If you got last week's show, there was 470 properties. So we went from 470 last week to 565 this week, which is awesome. And that's a 20.21% just week over week increase, thanks to rates going down and people jumping back in, all those buyers who are on the sidelines, which is awesome. If you look at volume, which is huge, you've been listening for a while, anytime it's over 200 million, the market is rocking and rolling. The last 7 days have been $207,210,000 worth of real estate went under contract. That's a 145% increase in volume week over week since the first week of January, which is awesome. And a 15% increase just week over week, which is amazing there. So lots of stuff moving. You're thinking about selling. You've been listening to my show for a while. You can go back and listen on YouTube. This is exactly what I was telling you what happened and why you want it. We're getting spring numbers right now in January. And why that is because so many people sat on the sidelines in November and December, and now they're jumping back in. And so you want to make sure you're taking advantage of that. And you're not going to see that continue to last that much longer, in my opinion, at least in this little sprint. So the cool part, 9 properties over $1 million went under contract last 7 days. 90 properties over 500,000 went under contract in the last 7 days, which is awesome. We're also seeing inventory has been swelling back up. Right now, there's 971 active homes on the market in Horry County. So that's single family resale homes. I track that every single day. If you went back to like the heat of the market when things are super fast, there's only about 350 homes on the market at any one time back then. Now we're, the high 900s, which is great. Last week's show was 949. This week's show, 971. So we're seeing inventory increase. That typically happens obviously the first of the year because people wait till after the holidays. And so that's what you're seeing there. But I'll tell you one thing, if you see the numbers right now, it's absolutely mind blowing. You want to take advantage. When you're seeing a 131% increase just in 3 weeks, that's interest rate driven. And it's a big buildup of just demand that's been sitting there in November, December, that's jumping back in. You want to take advantage of that. If you have any investment properties, any second homes, anything you don't want to deal with, tee it up right now when so many buyers are coming in. Our teams are working around the clock trying to keep up. One of the busiest Januaries I can remember in a very, very long time. And I know it's not going to last that long. It's just because so much pent-up demand is in there as well. So that's that part. If you look at just, I'll review the last 12 months numbers if you want for the overall Grand Strand. If you look at closed sales the last 12 months, how do we end up 2023? Sales were down 21.3% for single-family resale homes. So down 21.3%, 5,065 homes sold last year in 2023 in our entire area here. If you look at prices, median price is only up 2.9%. So if you look at from January 1st to December 31st, prices are up 2.9%. One of the slowest has been in a very long time. But here's the crazy part, right? We had the slowest amount of home sales since 1995, even worse in 2008, and prices still did not decline. And why that is there's still such a huge shortage of housing across the country to the tune of about 5 million units. And so that's what's holding prices so high still. Average sale price was up 5.9% at $473,463. So right close to $500,000, which is great news overall. Supply still very, very low. Ended up the year 3.0 months of inventory, which is half of what it would be at the threshold between a buyer's and seller's market. And so it's still technically what they call a super seller's market. Sellers have the advantage because so many sellers are locked in at 2%, 3%, and they're not selling. There's huge demand for buyers out there who don't have housing, who are not able to who've been on the sideline, so to speak. And that's why you're able to get a great advantage if you're a home seller right now, based on what you're looking for overall. The overall last year, interesting part I thought was the showings per listing. The average listing last year got 4.6 showings per listing. Towards the end of the year in November, December is only about 3. But the showings per pending, the average amount of showings it took to get a contract last year was 13.9. So basically 14 showings to get a contract last year. The average listing only got 4.6. That's why you want to make sure you have a great agent who's good at what they do, who can market to differentiate your property so that you can get showings in there, because you can't sell the property online. The only goal I have online with my marketing is to get a buyer to hook on it, right? To click the button to show it and to get them inside the property. And when I do that, when I drive more traffic, get more eyeballs on it, right? We're able to push buyers through. And then all of a sudden, when buyers go in, they know if they like it in 2 seconds or not. When you've toured homes before, if you like it 2 seconds or not, no matter what the real estate agent says, yourself, right, if you like it or not. And so what I'm good at is I'm a marketer. I'm basically good at marketing. I'm in the real estate business. And so my job, my forte, to drive more traffic, more eyeballs to your property, which allows us to get more buyers in there, which increase the chance of it selling. And obviously have a sales team that matches up buyers and sellers as well. So very, very interesting numbers there overall. If you look at condos really quick, review condo sales last year. Condo sales last year down 20% with 5,338 condos closed, which is still, pretty decent. Prices up. Average sale price up 7.2% last year at $276,000 for condos. The median price up 6.2% for $239,000 even. What we saw was a lot of buyers who preferred to have single family were forced out due to pricing, and they moved to the condos. And so that's something very, very interesting as well. And that's kind of what you're going to see overall. I think it's going to be a very, very spicy year for us. Hopefully we're going to see rates come back down. Obviously, it's election year, and we tend to see some manipulation there to bring rates back down to try to obviously make the economy look a little better. And so that's something that's good for real estate. But again, we're not sure what's going to happen these next few Fed meetings. And so obviously that's driven by the bond market, which is indirectly affected by that. And so right now, interest rates still holding low, which is good, below 7. Right now, a 30-year fixed rate, 6.90%. But here's the crazy part. If you look at last week's show, it was 6.77. And so the week before that, 6.76. Week before that, 6.63. And so it's up a little bit, right, which has made some buyers pump the brakes overall. But great news anytime it's below 7, which is why we're seeing 200+ million in real estate going under contract in a 7-day period. 15-year fixed rate, 6.29%. A 30-year jumbo loan, 7.25%. A 5-year adjust rate mortgage, an ARM, 6.30%. A 30-year FHA, 6.20%, which is awesome. And a 30-year VA loan right now, 6.20%. And so great news there for rates. We don't know how long they'll hold. If you're thinking about selling, do it sooner rather than later. When you're seeing, like I mentioned, $200 million in real estate go under contract in 1 week in January, the time is now to do so. If you want to know more, if you just want a curiosity, hey, look, what's my house worth? What can I get for it? We have free, no pressure. We're here to serve the community for the long term, how we've been doing for a long time. Call me, reach out and say, hey, what's my house worth? We also have an instant online tool. You can always go to blakesloan.com. It's on your phone. It's super simple. It's like a chat bot. It's got AI in there, and basically it'll just ask you a couple of questions and gives you a value online. It can also give you an instant cash offer there as well. So great stuff there. Quick break. Right back in a second. Our hot buyers alert.
Hey, WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible.
2 minutes left.
Okay. Thank you.
Here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan radio show. Really quick, hot buyers alert. My team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers looking to buy properties here on the Grand Strand area. And we always just put our money where our mouth is. We always share how many active buyers we have looking to purchase here on our website. That means they have a username, password, account. They're searching on our site right now. 75,017 active home buyers. 75,017 active home buyers that we have right now. 75,017 active home buyers. Sorry, I was trying to read my paper and my eyes were out there. So 75,017 active home buyers from all over right now. Big Rapids, Michigan, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We have Carol from Leesburg, Florida. I got Jasmine from Myrtle Beach. I got James from Hilton Head. I got, here you go, Jan Diamond from Seattle, Washington, way out there. Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. North Attleboro, Massachusetts. And so these people looking to buy properties here in our area, and they're already on our website. And so if you want instant, right, buyers that we can match up, reach out, call me. Our problem is we need inventory right now. You can call me 843-808-SOLD. Really quick, awesome success story. Our team's been absolutely crushing it. Alex and Elena had a house for sale in Carolina Forest for 6 months. Only had 3 showings, no offers. They had listed with their neighbor's friend and basically had nothing, just put it in MLS. After listing expired, they almost gave up. Thankfully, I saw my billboard, decided to give us a call about the guaranteed sold system. I came in, immediately identified the problem. It was marketing, terrible design, the terrible marketing they had. I came in, designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, virtual reality walkthrough. The drone video drove massive traffic, had under contract for more money than it was listed for before the previous agent within 4 days. And so the agent you choose matters overall with that. Also, Mark and Maria on a house, Pawleys Island, trying to sell it, moved back up north, did not get sold in 6 months. Thankfully, Mark heard about us on the radio. We came in. The previous agent sold 2 homes before. That was our major problem for a high-end home. I designed a custom luxury plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtual walkthrough, and the drone, and drove massive traffic. Had it under contract in 6 days. Now I can move back up north just because I had the right agent. If you want to know more, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or blakesloan.com.